Hey everyone. In this video I want to talk about the psychology behind why it can sometimes feel rather difficult to connect with people in big cities. We've all probably experienced that where you're visiting a big city or maybe you live in one and you notice that when you're walking down the street it feels like people don't really care about each other. It's like people won't even make eye contact with you or acknowledge you or say hello. And quite often when you're going in and out of places, people won't even hold the door open for you. So we've all felt that experience where it just feels like people are either being somewhat rude or like they just don't care about you. And that is very much a phenomena of big cities. And the reasons why, well, psychologists basically attribute this to something that goes way back in our, I guess, biology, goes way back in our history pretty much, where when we were living in caveman times, they theorized that our tribes on average would be around 150 or so people. And the reason for this theory is they think that beyond that, it would be difficult to memorize people's names and to fully know every member of the tribe. So they theorized that 150 people is just around that number that would be perfect for a tribe that would work well, where they'd be cohesive and a tight unit and everybody would know each other. Now, you do have to understand that this is a theory, so who knows if it's true or not that back then tribes were only about 150 people, but this is basically just based off, I guess, the average amount of people that most people are able to know really well or at least remember their names. And most people probably can't even come close to memorizing 100 people's names, let alone 150. So that seems like a pretty reasonable amount. But anyway, going back to that. So because of the fact that it seems like it's difficult to know more than 150 people, as soon as a city grows massive, people start becoming disconnected from each other because now there's millions of people in this small area. So there's no possible way for anyone in that city to get to know every single other person living in that city. And because of that, people just shut off. They just stop having empathy for their fellow human. It becomes difficult to connect with each other because everybody just disconnects from the social realm when they're moving around the cities. So that's pretty much the reason why it can feel so difficult to connect with people in big cities. We just aren't capable of getting to know all these strangers well at all, so we don't even bother with it. Now, when you go to and visit small towns or things like that, where there's only maybe a couple thousand people, this goes out the door because now it's a more close-knit community. Because even if there's more than that 150 people that the psychologists use in their theory, it's way easier to get to know people in a town that's small. I mean, even when you go to the store, say you go every Saturday or Sunday, you're bound to see some familiar faces after going there enough times. And because of that, you'll be able to connect with those people. And also in small towns, since everything is a bit more intimate because of the fewer amount of people, it also means people will be on better behavior. They'll be watching their reputations more because they know that if they do something wrong or if they're rude, that people are going to probably remember them and it's going to negatively hit their reputation. This doesn't happen in big cities because there are millions of people. You could literally go a full year and every single day you'd see someone that you'll never see ever again in your life. Like, that seriously happens. It's a crazy phenomenon. I think about it sometimes and it just boggles my mind that there are that many people in some of these cities. I live in Los Angeles, so there are about 1 million people, I believe, in the city itself, but then in the greater LA area, there's I think over 13 million people, so it's ridiculous. It's way too many people and way too small of an area, so people just disconnect from each other. So with that, people in big cities won't really care about their reputation. I've even noticed sometimes where people are repeat customers at a shop and they won't even care about their reputation in that shop, even though they go there all the time. But in small towns, that just doesn't happen because people get to know each other a bit better. They recognize each other, and they're not going to want to hurt their reputation in that community. So these are some of the reasons why it can be so difficult to connect with people in big cities. And if you feel like you're out of place in a big city, I would suggest that you should probably think in long term about ending up somewhere that's a bit more intimate with less people. I mean, that's what I want to do myself because I've realized that big cities just aren't for me. After a while, I feel like I don't connect with people. I feel like I don't belong, and I just don't like the fact that people lose that empathy for each other. I mean, you see it all the time here. You'll see it when, yeah, people won't hold the door for you. You'll see it when people just have that tunnel vision when walking down the street. They won't even acknowledge you at all. Like, literally, I've had so often where people won't even look at me. They can't even do that gesture. They just straight ahead of them. That's it. Even if you try to look at them to make eye contact, to say hello, they won't even acknowledge you. And I've even had times where I do say hello to people and they just ignore it. They keep going. That's how ridiculous it is in big cities. And then on the road, of course, you have ridiculous drivers because they don't give a crap about anyone except themselves. And that too is another very big, I guess, consequence of living in a big city. So there are just so many things here. So you really should think about where you want to be in the future. And I understand big cities tend to have a lot of opportunities, but thankfully we're in a world now where it seems like working from home or even just any form of remote work is becoming more common thanks to COVID. Hey, see, one good thing came out of COVID. We've got more benefits for working. Now it's a lot more flexible, which is awesome. So with that remote work, you can pretty much live wherever you want and work for a company in a big city, and you don't actually need to physically be in the big city. So that's an awesome thing for the future as well. But anyway, at this point, I'm just starting to not really ramble, but more of stray away from the topic. So I'll end the video here. I hope this video was insightful for you. I hope you enjoyed this kind of more psychology-based video as opposed to one on mindset of what I usually do, or well, motivational topics, that sort of thing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Arrivederci!